Perfect. Good evening, candidates and the online viewing public. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jeff Hall. I'm the past president of the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce. I will be your chairperson for this evening. Our volunteers, our Chamber Executive Director, Heather Bitts, will be the timer. Chamber staff, Marley Henning and Trudy Green, will screen questions. Bill Wolf is our audio technician, and John Schaff of Reality Bites and Chamber Board member will be handling the live streaming. Thank you to all our volunteers. The general format for the forum will begin with the mayoral candidates presenting his or her platform, followed by a short question and answer period. Then we will have a 10-minute break. Following the break, the council candidates will be introduced, and then they will present their platform. We will then move into another question and answer period, which will include all candidates. After the question period, we will finish with each candidate summarizing his or her platform. At this time, I would like to read the rules and regulations for this evening's proceedings. Candidates will have 3 minutes to expand upon their political platform. The format of the presentation is at their discretion. The timer will give a 20-second warning and then ring a bell at the end of the allotted time. No candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time, and I will ask the candidate to be seated. During the question period, questions on a wide range of topics will be collected through online submissions received in advance of the event and during the event. Chamber of Commerce staff or myself as chairperson will hold authority on which questions are asked of the candidates following screening for legibility, applicability, and content. I will rule out of order any questions deemed inappropriate, offensive, and derogatory, or that would seem to attack the integrity of any candidate. I will read the questions and address them to the appropriate candidates. Not all candidates will respond to all questions. We will randomly assign questions to a select number of candidates while ensuring all candidates receive an approximately equal number of questions to ensure fairness. Please note at the end of the evening, those questions will be compiled and circulated to the candidates. From there, it will be at the discretion of the candidates if they choose to provide responses and on what their platform stands for. Candidates can provide their written answers to the Chamber of Commerce that will be posted on our website, drumhellerchamber.com. Candidates will each be provided with 2 wildcards to use during the question and answer portion of the program only. Each wildcard shall allow a candidate 30 seconds to respond to a statement made by another candidate or to answer a question not assigned to them. Candidates shall indicate their desire to use a wildcard to myself by raising their wildcard without interrupting or disrupting the other candidates. That candidate, after being recognized by myself, may speak for up to 30 seconds on the topic at hand or rebut a statement made by another candidate. Wildcards cannot be used to increase the time already allotted to a candidate for opening and closing remarks. Answers to questions will be limited to 1.5 minutes in order to maximize the number of questions that can be fielded in the allotted time. And candidates will have 1 minute after the question period for closing remarks and to summarize their platform. So now I would like to introduce the mayoral candidates. In alphabetical order, the mayoral candidates are Ed Almond, Mark Chung, and Heather Kohlberg. It's tough when there's no applause. Before the forum, candidates drew numbers to determine the order of speaking. The order for the mayoral candidates will be Ed Almond, Heather Kohlberg, and Mark Chung. So at this time, I would ask Ed Almond to come forward to present your platform.
Hi citizens, my name is Ed Almond. I was raised on a farm in the Handhills, east of Drumheller. At 24 years old, I obtained loans to actively take over the single-family farm. At this time, my late father, Gary Almond, had many successful terms as a councillor and as the reeve of the MD of Starland number 47. At 40, I attended 3 years at SAIT to obtain a diploma as an environmental technologist. Most of my career, I've held a Red Seal Journeyman Automotive Technician Certificate. I stand for achieving accountability for the town manager and the Municipal Government Act will legally make this reality. So transparency will then follow. I stand for the de-escalation of the berm and demand fair real property values with a one-time compensation plan. I stand for reducing the tax mill rates by having the managers have the workers a more efficient work process. I stand for the citizens' rights and the deserved infrastructure services, including back alley maintenance for the outlying communities of Rosedale, Wayne, Cambria, Lehigh, and East Cooley. I stand for what can be done for the citizens for the 8 months that are not tourism. I stand for a balanced tourism infrastructure. I stand for the citizens to be heard on town issues. I stand for enticing manufacturing companies to invest in Drumheller. I stand for contractors building affordable beginner housing and also for micro houses and micro apartments. I stand for funded voluntary youth town projects. I stand for pet-friendly parks and an active drag racing program at the town's airport. I stand for more low-income housing. I stand for continuing senior housing. Now, these are all the most important issues, but there are many more that citizens really have. So I thank you for taking the time to hear me out.
Thanks, Ed. I will now ask Heather Kohlberg to come forward and present her platform.
Can I take this off? Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this amazing event tonight, and to Jeff Hall as our moderator, and to all of you who put your name forward and put your name on the ballot. Congratulations to you. My name is Heather Kohlberg, and I have had the honor of being your mayor for 4 years. When I set out on this journey 4 years ago, it was for 3 reasons. My love of the Valley, I wanted to give back and make a difference, and I wanted to fulfill a family commitment to my late brother John, who asked one of us to give back to municipal politics. To prepare for that, I visited 8 mayors throughout Alberta, attended council meetings, read numerous documents of policies, bylaws, and I thought I was prepared. Unfortunately, no one could have prepared me for COVID-19, a world pandemic. Nobody could prepare me for a flood mitigation, a complex program, and nobody could have prepared me for the loss of both my parents. So I get asked, why would you do this again? The same thing. I still love the Valley. I still want to give back, and I want to be part of the council that moves forward and gets everything that we've worked on so far accomplished. Although it seems that COVID and flood mitigation are the center of the stage, there are so many other things that were accomplished over the past 4 years. And I ask you to check the Drumheller Mail page today, as well as a website. And I also have a pamphlet with all the information of the work we have done. Now, the platform. I want to continue working on poverty reduction. Thank you to Jay Garbett for all the work he has done on that. Downtown revitalization, removal of the old hospital. There is so much going on that we need to work on. Seniors SL4, flood mitigation, beautification, established welcoming and inclusive communities, and economic development. Thank you to those who stepped forward 4 years ago and helped us to move forward the economic development program. I'm happy to say the downtown vacancy rate in 2017 was 18%, which is now 4%. Industrial area vacancy was 27%, it's now 6%, and we had approximately 200 homes on the market in 2017, and we're less than 75. In 2017, when I campaigned, I gathered 662 ideas, suggestions, and I'm happy to say that we only have 76 of those left. I'd love to finish those. Out of the top 7 things that people wanted then was economic development, which is in progress, removal of the old Elks Hall, which is done, repave 838, which is done, old hospital taken down this winter, seniors SL4, dirt will turn this spring, beautification ongoing, and flood mitigation. We have brought over $60 million in grants to this community. I have thoroughly enjoyed being your mayor, and I would love to be your mayor again. I would love to continue and finish all the work we have started. Good luck to all the candidates and wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. At this time, I'm going to ask Mark Chung to come forward and present his platform.
Good evening. Welcome, candidates, chamber personnel, and all the viewers online. My name is Mark Chung. I'm running as mayor. I was born at the old hospital in Drumheller. I was raised in the valley, educated here. I left the valley to go to school in Calgary. I moved back to raise my daughter in the city, or in the town here, sorry. And during my free time down here, I've spent a lot of my free time helping further educate the people of the valley through tutoring and mentoring of their post-secondary and any further education they want. I've also spent time coaching hockey and sitting on various boards in this community. And I spent most of my career working in the oil and gas, where I project managed pipeline and facility construction. And I've got a lot of knowledge of working with the private sector and with the publicly traded companies. My platform includes the following: fiscal responsible governments. As we all see, the town needs to evaluate their spending a little bit better. Currently, the cost to build is only the part that's discussed mainly. They don't look at the full costs, such as project maintenance, future upgrades, or repairs. That hasn't been discussed. Accountability. I have an inquisitive mind. I'm going to make sure that all the questions are asked that I can to all the personnel that can give me information before decisions are made in council meetings. And practical collaboration. I want to work with the different levels of government, the community groups and residents to make this community great. I've grown up here, and the best valley in Alberta that I've seen and want to be a part of. I plan to focus on working with the downtown business to create a vibrant downtown that attracts people and business. I believe it's all about communication with all the various groups, and we need to figure out a solution. I want to work with the residents and the flood mitigation group to get the project back on track. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of issues, and we need to figure that out and keep moving forward. I'm looking to make a more transparent local government. I'm going to build a trust between Town Hall and the residents. I want to work with the economic group to attract new businesses to the community. I want to work with the economic group also to help support local businesses in the valley. And I'd like to see all the residents have equal access to all the services in the valley has to offer. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks to all the mayoral candidates for your great introductions there. So now we're going to commence the mayoral question and answer period. Would help if I brought questions. Here we go. So I will read the questions and then invite each candidate to respond in a predetermined order. The candidates will remain seated. You will have 1.5 minutes to respond to these questions. So the first question and the order of response is Ed, then Mark, then Heather. First question is, businesses report growing concerns with costs of electricity and natural gas, and municipal franchise fees on utility services have been identified as a cost barrier on businesses by municipalities. How would you approach this issue? Ed, you have 1.5 minutes.
Could you repeat the question again?
Businesses report growing concerns with cost of electricity and natural gas, and municipal franchise fees on utility services have been identified as a cost barrier leveled on businesses by municipalities. How would you approach this issue?
Well, I guess that's kind of a difficult question to answer, but majority of your costs for your heating and water and such is generally all the administration fees and other fees. The actual cost of the service is quite cheap. And I really don't know how a person would actually get all those administration costs down. Generally, these high costs are because they're lacking the money in the actual product that they're providing, and they need some other method to get the money so they can make their profit off it. So I guess I really can't answer that probably to the best way that you would be looking for an answer. I would definitely have to discuss with people that would have proper information to give a better answer to that.
Mark?
This is a great question. When we look at it, there's a lot of different factors that bring into the cost of distribution. The government's the federal and provincial governments have their own agreements to distribute the gas or electricity to the residents, and they've got to pay fees to the government, and the agreements also give the companies opportunities to make money on transportation of the gas and electricity to houses. The only costs that as a town we're able to really take care of are the leverages that we put on as a town. I believe there's a $15 approximately fee that the town puts on, and that's about all we can affect directly through our town.
Thanks, Mark. Heather?
Yeah, that's a great question. This council was able to work with AUMA and come up with a resolution and get the support of municipalities, small municipalities throughout the province. We went back at them saying if they would take urban and include it with rural, we'd be able to drop the whole price of electricity and services. And so they're continually working with Alberta Urban Municipalities Association to do that, because it's not fair that if the urban communities added 2 cents to their bill, that would drop all of ours by thousands. So we'll continue to work on that. I just believe that we have to continue to negotiate on that matter. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Our next question, Mark will answer first, followed by Heather, and then Ed. Without using the words transparency, honest communication, or speaking on behalf of the community, what is your primary responsibility as a member of Town Council?
The primary responsibility of the mayor is to represent the residents of the town at council meetings. In voting and making any decisions, they have to look at what's best for the community and not what's best for themselves. In doing that, they also need to sit on the different boards higher up and talk to better the community based on discussions with any of the higher ups that can help our community to become better. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Heather?
So the role of mayor is we work a lot with the community. We attend a lot of functions. We are there to help, in any way we can. Our daily role is being, you set up meetings. You're responsible to set up the agenda for council. You're also, you only have one vote as mayor. Your responsibility there is to keep cohesiveness with your council. Give the information, make sure that the agendas are prepared. Make sure you're working really close with your CAO, because administration has a lot of power to give us all the tools we need so that we can make sound decisions. So it's vital that we spend the time and do the homework. When you're mayor, you have to really keep that whole focus on the community as a whole, but also you've got to keep the control within the town hall. And I'm just very lucky to have a great council that I've been blessed to work with, so being mayor was a lot of fun for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Ed?
Well, I guess as a mayor and council members being elected by the citizens, you are working for the citizens. And as a mayor by themselves, they don't have a lot of input or power, and the same with an individual council member. But the major important thing is when the mayor works in conjunction with the majority of the council members, they have a lot of power. And what they need to do is listen to the citizens' concerns and make sure that they use that information as best they can in regards to any issues or policies that the mayor and the council members as a whole are going to be dealing with. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Our next question will be directed to Heather first, followed by Ed, and then Mark. The frequency that town council goes in camera during meetings seems to have increased in recent years. Some might say this has contributed to mistrust of council. Do you believe that council goes in camera during meetings too frequently, and would you commit to doing so less often going forward?
You know, that's a really great question, because when I used to, before I became mayor, I did study a lot of council meetings. I watched, and I had trouble understanding how a lot of things went in camera and we weren't able to hear it. Being there, I obviously realized that there's things that are land, legal, and labor that you're not allowed to discuss in public. These are things that affect people's lives, people's land, people's livelihoods. So we got to be very careful. I disagree with the fact that it is hard when you've never been in that room and you understand, you question that all the time. And I was one of those that had to, that's why I kept watching and researching. But once you understand that land, legal, and labor are just topics you're not allowed to discuss as part of your role as council. So we do minimize as much as we can. Obviously, with the flood mitigation program, it's been a lot more complex than normal, but at the end of the day, it only goes into camera when it's required.
Thanks, Heather. Ed?
Well, myself with the COVID-19, of course, that's a lot of the reason why the meetings are held over the camera. I would myself personally like to have something that's a little more in person. That could potentially be having outdoor meetings. Mind you, that's not too grave an idea now in the fall and winter. But a lot of people are able to communicate and give better information when they're in person talking with the mayor and the council members. And I really think that's important to have that one-on-one communication. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And Mark?
Well, as Heather has said, land, legal, and labor are the important things that you're not allowed to talk into the public, and it must be taken in camera. I believe council is having those discussions in camera based on those. We'll never know what's been said, and that's the important thing. It's meant to be confidential. And going forward, if need be, then we have to have those in-camera meetings. But as much as I would prefer not to have them in camera, there are times when you need to have them.
Thanks, Mark. All right, well, that brings our specific mayoral questions to an end. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. So it is now 6:23, so we'll be back at 6:33, and we will introduce the council candidates and continue on. Thanks, everyone. Great. Welcome back, everybody. Now I'd like to introduce the council candidates. In alphabetical order, the candidates running for council are Grant Burgos, Kurt Ewing, Lisa Hansen-Zacharak, Patrick Kalafel, Tony Locker, Anthony Miglis, Stephanie Price, Jade Scott, Crystal Soretta, Ralph Wienhouse, and Tom Zaritsky. We selected the order of speaking prior to, and the first to come forward to present his 3-minute platform is Tony Locker.
Good evening, citizens of Drumheller. My name is Tony Locker, and I've been a resident of Drumheller for the past 25 years. I relocated here with my family in 1996 as a new branch manager of ATB Financial, where I worked up until 2010. At that point, I became a district general manager for 13 branches in southeast Alberta. Although my new office was in Lethbridge, I chose to commute the distance versus having to leave this beautiful valley. My 3 children were raised here in Drumheller, and all of them graduated from the 2 high schools. They've all since moved on to begin successful careers of their own. Throughout the 25 years that my family has lived here, we've always been involved in the community, whether it be in sports, nonprofit organizations, special events, or fundraising campaigns. I personally have been a long-standing member of both the Knights of Columbus and the Lions Club service groups. I have served on various chamber and town boards across the province and communities where my career with ATB has taken me. Once in Drumheller, I chaired the Badlands Community Facility Steering Committee, which was instrumental in making a grassroots idea become a reality. I have served as town councillor for the past 4 years, and I'm proud of the many projects that we have completed and the accomplishments made in order to advance our community. Hence, my platform is simple. I want my community to be a progressive and vibrant place that continues to attract families and businesses. It needs to be a town that takes pride in its communities and is open to a diverse range of industry. I believe that everything starts with a vision, and with the right players at the table, these visions become realities. I also believe that my 35-year career with ATB Financial has provided me with some acquired strengths which I can bring to that table. Some of those included an extensive financial background in accounting and finance, an analytical skill set, strong leadership and management skills, open and honest communication, proven fiscal responsibility, and established credibility and accountability. So I stand here before you with no hidden agendas, no lofty campaign promises. I do, however, stand before you as a passionate citizen of Drumheller who loves the town for what it is and what it can become. I believe that if you choose me as an enabler, I will become a part of a team whose mission will move us forward. Our success will showcase Drumheller as a town that is vibrant, open for business, as well as a place where everyone is welcome to settle and raise a family just as I did. I'm ready to serve and willing to work hard on a broader platform. Guess that was a little long.
Thanks, Tony. I'm now going to call Ralph Wienhouse to the podium.
Good evening to everyone that is here and everyone that is tuned in on the web. My name is Ralph Wienhouse, for the people and with the people. I was in Drumheller for 36 years now. I love the valley, all my friends and neighbors. It's been a great place and a great quality of life to live here. Born in Nova Scotia, attended both college and university. I am a CERTA SAT member in engineering. Worked worldwide 10 years in instrumentation, 8 years in media engineering. The past 12 years, I'm presently operating a small business in Drumheller. Here's a quote from the council handbook, member handbook. We had to do a lot of reading for this. If elected, electors of your municipality have put their trust in you to make decisions that are in their best interest. Elected office is one of the highest orders of public office. It offers you the opportunity to significantly influence the quality of life in your community. And that's my mandate, to put the interest of the residents first in every decision that we make, and the electors. What I support? Supporting seniors, new programs to help low-income seniors, support many existing programs already there, and whatever needs seniors may have to back them. Also supporting youth in the community, programs for making wise life choices, activities to keep them busy, involved in the community, and employment opportunities. But also at the same time supporting all residents, whether it be handicapped, virtually impaired, families are the future of our town. I promise you responsible spending for you, the taxpayer, responsible messaging to you on all issues, responsible decision-making, no hidden agendas, equality, fairness, and respect for all residents, working with the business sector for all businesses, complete management review, boots on the ground. How are we invested between management and people working on the ground in the town? Tourism. Keep our tourism sectors clean and tourist ready at all times. Keeping Drumheller on the world map, at the same time respecting the quality of life for the residents as a priority. Comprehensive and immediate review of the flood mitigation program. Also, I would like to support quarterly meetings, again if we could, in community halls to engage the public more. So please, vote Ralph Wienhouse. Let me help you. My commitment is to you and for you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ralph. Next, I'm going to call Anthony Miglis forward, please.
Hello, my name is Tony Miglis. First off, I'd like to thank the outgoing council for their service. To build strong communities, we need residents to be involved, whether it's run for council, participate in our community association, or coach a team. Participation at some level is essential. For this, I thank them. Myself, I'm 62, married, and after 42 years on the oil field, the last 24 years as drilling supervisor, my wife, who has family ties here in the valley, and I decided we'd like to live here permanently. Once we got settled in, I listened to the controversy over the flood mitigation and thought that my years of training on big projects could add value to this situation. I realized that my experience with corporate policies and procedures while maintaining tight budgets and building irreproachable business associations, as well as being a board member of my previous community association, would all help to qualify me as a councillor here in Drumheller. I believe there are many other opportunities here in the valley. The downtown area has come a long way from years ago, and attracting business downtown, the heart of any town, is extremely important to a healthy community. Tourism in this area is a natural fact. The area is as interesting as the mountains and a natural draw. So promoting tourism also promotes business and industry wanting to attract and retain employees who could appreciate the area with their families on their off time. They talk about the garbage with the tourists. Could be addressed like any other tourist towns with respectful signage and more garbage cans that also get properly maintained. Show pride in our community, and maybe we'll gain respect from it from our visitors. Town services, I'm not sure if there's any systems of efficiencies and quality checks in place with the town, but I believe this issue should be looked at and possibly updated. I realize there are many other functions of council, but I hope that taxpayers can tell that I'm a fair and reasonable man who's committed to maintaining the let you be you attitude of this community, and it's a big part of why we moved here. I thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Next to speak is Pat Kalafa.
Good evening, and thank you to the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum, and congratulations to all the candidates who have stepped up to commit to public office. I'm Patrick Kalafa. I came to Drumheller almost 2 decades ago, and it was a vastly different community. My wife and I decided it was a good place to raise a family, and we've never regretted that choice. I have 2 daughters, and one is getting ready to graduate this year from St. Anthony's. Through my unique professional life, I've gotten to know this community, their accomplishments and triumphs, and through the difficult times as well. It has given me a firm understanding of community. I've also immersed myself in the issues facing the Valley in the past 20 years. I bring with me a firm understanding of what challenges the future hold. This led me to get involved serving from 2013 to 2017. I'm proud of the work I did on behalf of the community, and I humbly ask for your support again. My platform centers on the viability of the town of Drumheller. It's no secret that towns die because of lack of opportunity, and towns are driven when there's something to attract, retain, and build a life. The town's role in remaining viable is all-encompassing and takes a holistic approach. It centers on fostering opportunity. Drumheller has many assets to build opportunity. We have incredible people, skilled workforce, industrial space, a tourism industry, professional opportunities across all sectors, and the infrastructure to support young and old residents. We need to continue this momentum and build on these assets. This is why we maintain our infrastructure, water, and roads. It is why we lobby for modern technology to allow people to work from home. It is about having available real estate for business and residents. It's about having a place for families to socialize and recreate. It's about having resources available for when families need support. These are the cornerstone from where opportunities come from. When you take a broad look at the needs of community stakeholders, they're all similar. Residents need stable and dependable services and infrastructure, just as business owners. The same pathway and facilities that residents use are often the same ones that tourists do. We need to feel safe in our homes or when we're walking in the community, no matter where we're from and no matter where we're going. Drumheller is facing many issues. Some are divisive, and some will be easier to find consensus. My focus on vitality is simply because if we don't continue to build for the future, maintain our successes, we could lose all we have gained and all the generations before us have built. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Next, I will call forward Stephanie Price.
Good evening, Drumheller, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Stephanie Price. I was raised in Rosebud and moved to Drumheller in 2001. I completed both junior and senior high at the DVSS. Having lived here for the past 20 years, I feel that it's time to give something back to the town I love so much. I'm interested in doing this by working with the council, committees, and the community to continue revitalizing downtown. I would like to see more business development in both our downtown and industrial area. My family has had small businesses since 1993 in Drumheller. This has made me realize how important they are to the local economy. They give back so much in terms of support, encouragement, and sponsorship. Synonymous with revitalization is beautification. The present council has done a wonderful job of making Drumheller more attractive at the North and South Hills as well as downtown. I am also interested in working with anyone to continue this program. Although I realize that a lot of the empty space in the industrial area is a result of the economic downturn, I think it's important that we continue opportunities to attract new industrial business while at the same time supporting our existing businesses in this sector. Having a good industrial and small business base could attract more workers and residents to the valley. If we are to attract new residents, I think it's important that we try to make our town safer. Being a resident of Drumheller and raising my children here, I see a need to address the drug problem. I'm not sure how to go about this yet, but I'm willing to listen to any viable ideas and work with council and/or a committee to bring help and relief to this issue. I love Drumheller and look forward to being open and honest with a willingness to listen to our citizens' ideas and concerns. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I am Stephanie Price, and this Price is right for the job.
Thanks, Stephanie. Next to come forward, Lisa Hansen-Zachrach.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Lisa Hansen-Zachrach, and I have had the honor of serving our community for 11 years. During this time, we have made some amazing progress, but also tribulations. But these trials have made me a stronger individual, personally and professionally. No matter what, it has still been my honor to serve you. I would like to tell those not familiar with me a little bit about me. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and together we have 2 beautiful teenage girls, one set to graduate this year. I'm a 5th-generation Drumhellerite, an avid animal lover, horse-poor cowgirl, fossil hunter, dabbling artist, and lover of books. My love of this town, my home, has propelled me to make a positive difference here, not only by being at the council table, but by staying engaged here, where we live, in my free time too. I'm currently the president of the Homestead Museum Society, a board of director for the Chamber of Commerce, director for the Royal Trail Museum of Cooperating Society, and a board member for the Insurance Institute of Southern Alberta. In my professional life, I'm a commercial account executive for Western Financial Group, helping businesses all over Western Canada ensure what's most important to them. Prior to this, I was self-employed for 11 years. I owned and operated a family restaurant in the core of our downtown. All of my experience in supporting the success of our town through all the years has given me a strong understanding of our needs and the valley and the future direction we need to take. On the many issues that I would like to continue to address, just to name a few, would be the ease of doing business in our community, building on our tourist shoulder season, taking care of the parking, traffic flow issues in residential areas closer to high tourist locations, completion of the artery road from Friesen to downtown, beautification and affordable housing. We have come ahead substantially in the past years, but there's more work to do. On the topic of work and progress, I want to speak to one of the elephants in the room, the flood mitigation program. We all know this program is necessary for the future generations in this valley. Climate change is a very real issue. The sleeping red does not look very threatening right now, but it is what happens in the mountains that is troublesome. We cannot control Mother Nature, but we can help guide her. I need you to hear me when I say this. This program will not cease regardless of those wanting it to. Any conversations about giving the money back to the levels of governments which granted it will not happen, regardless of what some may say. And this is why. To date, no money from the coffers of Drumheller have been spent, but there has been about $8 million on property buyouts, engineering work, designs, and staff from the grant. If we were to present the government with a remaining balance and say we are not completing the program, we, the taxpayers of Drumheller, would have to come up with $8 million to also return. In a nutshell, as I see it, the only direction to move is forward. Now we need to come together as a community, as a flood community, and go forward in a manner that has the end goal in mind, ensuring our future. I'm asking for your vote so I may be at that table to help keep our community on a pathway that most of us can live with. Will it be easy? No. In point of fact, the personal attacks on one's integrity, oneself, has made this all the more challenging, but I keep telling myself to rise above it. I know there are members of our community that are suffering through this process, and I am empathetic. I feel this with you, but we must find a way. Thank you. Not fast enough.
Thanks, Lisa. Next, I'm going to call forward Jade Scott.
Oh, of course I'm stuck. All right, so first, in spirit of reconciliation, I wish to acknowledge that we are on the land marked as Treaty 7, the traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy. Hi all, I am Jade Scott. I might be a new face for many of you, and while I did not grow up in Drumheller, it is the first place I have ever called home. My stepfather had worked for CP Rail, and we transferred all along the railway. Places like Medicine Hat, Strathmore, Wetaskiwin, Leduc. I had moved something like 26 times in my first 18 years, and this continued into my adulthood. I came here to volunteer for the Loud as Hell Festival in 2014, and that is when the energy of the Valley grabbed hold of me. I became a resident less than a year later. I currently work from home as the information architect for a small software company based out of Calgary. I manage the finances, the help desk, as well as do the technical writing for the manuals. This background will serve you well as I understand the importance of fiscal responsibility and attention to detail, as well as I'm a really good problem solver. I'm currently running for council because I believe we need to have outspoken, transparent, and diverse representation. I bring a fresh outlook, a curious mind, and I am not afraid to speak up. I have heard from residents that they want more, and they want to thrive all year round, not just tourist season. I would like to see council focus on cultivating new business and this year-round employment. Drumheller can be so much more than a tourist town, especially because we have this little slice of heaven with high-speed internet. Residents tell me they would also like to see more mental wellness programs as we struggle with the effects of trauma, lockdowns, and social media. There is also a need for programs that work with seniors and single families for making connections and creating support systems, as well as affordable, educational, and positive mentorship programs for our youth. Ideas like the paint party at the skate park do just that. I was just downtown Calgary and I was blown away by some of the art under the overpasses. It really fits with our beautification ideals too. I would also really like to implement door-to-door recycling, all while trying to maintain our taxes. As a single income homeowner, I cannot afford for them to go up either. It would be an honor to be elected as councillor for the town of Drumheller. My promise will be to speak for those who do not necessarily want to be up here, but still have so many valuable ideas to contribute. If we are going to make it through these challenging times, we need to work together. As it said, there is unity in diversity. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. Next, Kurt Ewing.
Good evening, Drumheller and surrounding communities. My name is Kurt Ewing, and I am a third-generation Drumhellerite. I am running as candidate for seat on town council. I'll say that I don't have a lot of political experience, but what I do have is passion and love for this valley. I was born and raised here, lived here the majority of my life. I've worked in the oil and gas industry as a truck driver, safety compliance officer, driver trainer, accident investigator, as well as I had 167 drivers that I was in charge of. I am trained as a fiberglass technician. I built bits boats, race boats. Hobbies, interests include bikes, cars, camping, fishing, and other interests throughout the valley. I sat on a board in Langley, BC for Townhouse Committee. I decided to run for council because I felt our concerns as residents were not being heard or voiced by present administration. I believe as a councillor you should be open, available to your community, even if your views are different. That being councillor means being the voice of your communities and constituents. I want to be that voice. I believe that an oath of office is something that one should take seriously, and if I'm elected, I intend to just do that. I realize there are several different concerns in the present time of our valley, but in my opinion, none are bigger than the flood mitigation. I've knocked on doors, listened to people pour their hearts out losing their homes that plan to retire in. I feel their pain, and when I hear the loss of their beautiful river views and privacy that is precious and dear to each and every one, I feel their concerns. We do need a berm, but do we need it the size that we have planned? Cost of maintenance of overages. A bigger question I have is how much our property tax is going to increase now that we're decreasing our tax base by purchasing some of the most expensive properties in the valley. How will people be able to keep living here with current agreement in place? We as residents will pay through our taxes for any overages, maintenance for a project none of us were really consulted on. We need transparency, clear communication. I feel this should come from the people we elect. I believe in the fiscal responsibility and I want to see our town prosper. It would be my goal to bring in, expand our industrial and attract businesses with good paying salaries so that our community can thrive all year, not just through the summer months with tourism. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kurt. Next, I will call forward Crystal Soretta.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Soretta, and first I want to thank the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce for hosting the forum, as well as our current and past Town Council and Mayor Heather Kohlberg for the tremendous work they have contributed to this community over the years. I am proud to say I was born and raised in Carbon, and after graduating from Mount Royal College in 2005 with a Child and Youth Care Counseling diploma, I knew I would make the Valley my forever home. Along with my husband Nick, we opened Shred Skate Shop in 2004, and in 2019, with our business partners, we started Valley Brewing. Most recently, I took a career change as a senior judicial clerk with Alberta Solicitor General to focus more on our family and the business. We have two very busy sons, Nate and Fraser, who enjoy the endless outdoor activities in the Valley as much as we do. We took a chance on creating a life in Drumheller, and there really is no other place we would rather be. If you build a place where people want to visit, then you will build a place where people want to live. Drumheller has seen a drastic change in the economy over the last decade. Thankfully, we have had the advantage of tourist attractions to draw visitors from around the globe. Growing and sustaining tourism in the Valley will help our economy grow. I hold a board position with the Travel Drumheller and have a great relationship with various tourism providers. Attracting tourism throughout the year will only benefit our community. But with that, there's also strain on infrastructure. We need to come up with a solution to ensure taxpayers are not covering the cost of tourism, but benefit from it. If you build a place where people want to live, you will build a place where people want to work. Ensuring our homes are protected from natural disasters and making sure council is accountable for the decisions benefits everyone. Rural crime and opiate crisis has affected all of us. If we can get to know our neighbors together, we can help create a safe environment for our families. I worked at the local courthouse for 5 years and have a good understanding of the judicial system and what social issues we have in our community. Crime reduction can happen when we all can work together. If you build a place where people want to work, you will build a place where business needs to be. This valley is built on small businesses. These owners and operators are the first to volunteer on boards, donate to fundraisers, generate jobs for youth, and create change for the future. Together, we need to protect the businesses we have and attract new ones to our community. I've been a business owner in this valley for 17 years, and I know the struggles of staffing, hours of operation, and economical downfalls. I've been on numerous boards, including the development of the Drumheller Skateboard Park, and have donated to various organizations over the years, as well as employing over 20 youth for our community. If you build a place where business needs to be, you'll build a place where people have to visit. Thank you, Drumheller, for your support. I know you'll make the right decision in electing your town council this term.
Thanks, Crystal. Next to come forward, Tom Zariski. Tom has the longest walk of anybody.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for viewing this presentation and the Chamber for putting it together. My name is Tom Zariski. I've lived, worked, and raised a family in Drumheller for the past 45 years. I've been on town council for many years. I'm retired principal of Drumheller Composite High School. I am and have been very active in the community. Currently, I'm president of the Newcastle Community Association. I chair the Drumheller Seniors Foundation. I chair the Municipal Planning Commission. I'm on the Drumheller Health Foundation board member and the Citizens Advisory Committee of the RCMP. I'm also a trained Certified Assessment Review Board member. Many years ago, Don Robertson and Jason Blank and I founded the Drumheller Community Football Association, Titans football program. Over the years, we've had hundreds of kids in the community playing football. I've chaired the Royal Tyrrell Museum Cooperating Society and been vice president of the Minor Hockey Association. For those, I was named the Town of Drumheller Citizen of the Year in 2002, and I was also named the Golf Canada Volunteer of the Year for all of Canada 2017. My goals in council are and always have been to help facilitate in the town of Drumheller a high-quality environment that residents recommend to family and friends. Business owners prefer for their business and employees, where professionals prefer to work and prefer for their clients, employees and residents of the town are proud of, and future economic development prospects seek for long-term returns. I feel that my mission as a councillor is to work collaboratively with all members of the community, not-for-profit sector, other orders of government, and the private sector to develop the necessary infrastructure, cultural, recreational, and social amenities which are necessary and of benefit to all members of the community, regardless of their age, sex, or economic position. My values have always been integrity. I am open and accountable in my decision-making. I am service-oriented. I'm on council to serve the wants and needs of the community. I am approachable. I regularly talk and meet with people about town issues. I make clear, concise, transparent decisions based on the best possible information. I am innovative. We always need to build for the future. I've done a lot of strategic planning, and strategic planning involves identifying priorities and determining what is most important. Unfortunately, there's never enough money to do everything. I work towards an inclusive, high quality of life for all members of the community. Also, we need to make sure that we have a high quality experience for visitors. I begin every year on council with a stop, start, and continue approach. I look at what isn't working in the valley and see if we need to stop it. I look at what we might do to start projects or initiatives. I look to see how we can continue funding projects and initiatives that are working to make them sustainable. Thank you. My name is Tom Zariski, and I look forward to working for you on Town Council.
Thanks, Tom. I must say you must have the best eyesight of anybody I've ever seen, because that's the smallest font I've ever seen on a piece of paper. Next, I'm going to call forward Grant Burgos.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight, and thank you for the Chamber for hosting this event. For those that do not know me, my name is Grant Burgess, and I have ties to this community since the day I was born in the old hospital on Riverside Drive. Over the years, my wife Tweed and I have seen our family grow in the comfort of this community. We have two grown daughters, Maria and Kia Alexis. We are very proud of them both. They're both registered nurses, and they both work at the local hospital. They are now both married and starting families of their own. We have a little grandson, Theo, and a new grandchild on the way in November. My wife and I have enjoyed raising our family in the community, and now our children have come back to do the same. I believe the experience that I've gained over my working career has given me the skill set to help guide our community over the next 4 years. Just to touch on some of that I've learned over the years is teamwork, the communication, quite a bit of work done around the budgeting, lots of emergency preparedness, risk management, and of course, community relations. To touch a little bit on my platform, just to provide oversight to the flood mitigation project. Lots of people talked about that tonight. Ensure good communication so everyone is informed. Ensure it's built right for the long term. Look at all of the options, the height, the width, and the alignment. And if elected, I'll walk every inch of that berm and make sure that every dollar is accounted for. On the budgeting process, I'm sure that'll be coming up in this fall. Ensure that your tax dollars are spent effective and efficiently. And we all know that inflation is right in front of us, so the cost of everything is going up. So to balance a budget and make that all work, it's probably going to be quite a challenge. Affordable and safe housing is part of my platform. The residents all need safe and affordable housing to ensure the quality of life. Seniors work with the seniors who transition from their homes to the manors and then to the lodges, and make sure that they all have affordable housing. And if elected, I'll familiarize myself with the SL4 complex on Hillsview on Riverside Drive, which is more enhanced assisted living. Around the economy, over the years, the agriculture, oil and gas, and tourism has definitely been key to our local economy, and I have experience in all three. Ensure that Drumheller is competitive to both attract new businesses as well as retaining all of the existing. Advance the downtown revitalization program, that's key, and it would be huge to be able to attract more businesses and manufacturers and factories. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. All right, and we are slightly ahead of time. Perfect. So now we're going to move into the question and answer period. So from the submitted questions, I will read the question and which candidate the question is directed to. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond. Remember, candidates, you also have two 30-second wildcards to use if you would like to respond to a question that is not assigned to you. I'm just going to All right, so starting off, our first question is directed to Kurt Ewing, Stephanie Price, Anthony Miglis, and Ed Almond. Do you think our downtown core and tourism corridor are healthy and successful? If yes, why? If no, what would you change? Kurt, if you want to answer that question first.
I think it's healthy and it's viable. We do have a few empty buildings that would be really nice to fulfill and bring other, maybe youth organized businesses into town.
Thanks, Kurt. Stephanie.
I think we have a great downtown. The biggest thing I hear from tourists when they come to our town is that everything closes so early. So I wasn't sure if there's something we could do to promote businesses to stay open later, for tourists to walk downtown and enjoy downtown later at evening to do some shopping and stuff. Thank you.
Thanks. Anthony.
The downtown core is like I said earlier, is the heart of the community, and yes, it is doing well down there. There's a lot of good initiatives that should continue to grow there. The little bands going on throughout the Thursdays to Saturdays, and the farmers market that's in there. I believe that continuing to promote, and as far as the businesses staying open, maybe something to look at if their cooperation, if it was possible for them, identifying times, especially identifying times when it would be appropriate for them. And that's about it.
Thanks. Ed.
Well, I think Heather has done an excellent job at beautifying the downtown. We just need a few more businesses there and maybe a little more parking for the tourist people. And yeah, nothing but good things to come in the future, I believe. Thank you.
All right, don't see any wild cards, so we will move on to our next question. This question is directed to Jade, Grant, Ralph, and Mark. If council received a $1 million grant to use for town infrastructure any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? Jade.
Of course I get to go first. So I've never been on council, so I'm going to be honest and say, like, I don't exactly know where I would want to put that in. I do know that I would love to see more tech come to this valley, though. As someone who works in tech, we need more digital. So that's where I'm thinking that's where I would go.
Great. Thank you. Grant.
Yeah, that's a really good question. $1 million to come to town on infrastructure. Yeah, I don't know if if putting that money towards the downtown revitalization would count or not, but I mean, that would be one area where I would like to spend more money. The town hall, or the public works is already moved, so that would be off. So yeah, that's a really good question. I would think that the infrastructure downtown, the sewer and the water, some of that might be needed to update. There's always water breaks in the wintertime too, so it could be some of that infrastructure that would benefit from $1 million. Thank you.
Okay, next to answer that question is Ralph.
I think we'd be wise to spend money also in repairing some of the back alleys and some of the roads downtown. Money dedicated to programs to help more with our seniors and our youth. Expanding like the pavilion work and stuff downtown for the tourists is great also. It is a tough question. I don't have a lot of experience with council or anything yet, but yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
And Mark.
$1 million will take you so far. Definitely look at buildings such as the hockey rink, the curling rink that need repairs. We have got the fountain. We've got the pool that needs repairs. I think I would look at maintenance on all that equipment there. And again, looking at the back alleys that need repairs, the roads that need repairs, and just touch up everything in the valley.
Thanks, Mark. Tom, you were first with the wild card, so you have 30 seconds.
Am I on? Okay, thank you. The project that has, of course, been near and dear to my heart over the last number of years has been the Supported Living 4 new build onto Hillview. We got $7 million from the provincial government for that, but the Seniors Foundation is basically having to come up with about $1 million worth of furniture and equipment to furnish that. So that's where I'd put that million.
Thank you. And I think, Stephanie, you wanted to use a wild card?
So I'm not sure how much it would cost, but it would be nice to look at a second sheet of ice. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, Ed wants to use a wild card as well?
Yes, I think with $1 million, it would be important to put that in infrastructure related to roads, paving, sidewalks, and more so for the outlying communities outside of Drumheller, you know, from Rosedale all the way down to East Cooley. I've spoken to a lot of people there, and they feel that they've kind of been completely forgotten. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next question is directed to Tom, Lisa, Tony, and Heather. Looking back on Drumheller's response to COVID during the beginning of the pandemic, do you feel that council spent tax dollars wisely? In other words, do you think it was wise to have spent so much on items like road closure signs, overtime and meals for staff, spraying sidewalks and fences with soap, and what would you do differently, if anything? So, Tom.
Yeah, great question. And you know, the times have changed. When we were first presented with the COVID information, the information we got said, you know, COVID is going to sweep through this valley like the wildfires that swept through Fort McMurray. That it was just going to run rampant, and we had to do everything we could possibly do to stop it and curtail it and stop it before it started. So when we were faced with that information, we looked around and looked at everything that the World Health Organization recommended and Government of Canada recommended, and we did everything that we possibly could, and we were actually very effective. We were one of the few communities in Alberta that didn't have any cases of COVID. So you look back at some of the money that we spent, obviously in retrospect you look back and you say, well, maybe we shouldn't have spent that, and in the next pandemic we wouldn't, but at the time, boy, we thought we were doing the right thing, and I think we did a good job.
Lisa.
Thanks, Tom. I think some of the disconnect in regards to the COVID spending comes in that a lot of people didn't realize that there was an emergency management team that actually was at the forefront. They were the ones spending the capital and calling the shots as to what happened through COVID-19 when we first started in March. Council, of course, we had a duty when it comes to the financial aspect. So we gave them perhaps a little bit too much free rein, but at the end of the day, it was about protecting this community and protecting our seniors and the most vulnerable. Do I agree with everything that was done? No, but you know what? This council was not the ones calling the shots, but we were also just in the same vehicle as those who were. And had it been different, if we knew now what we knew then, I think the spending would be a little bit different, but at the time it was very fluid, it was live, and we had no idea what was coming down the pipes at us.
Thanks. Tony.
Yes, just to add to that, Tom, yes, it happened fast. We went from a lot of outside sources as to the best guesstimates, keeping in mind that there was never a handbook written on how you do this. We have a duty of finance. There was a lead team that took control of what had gotten done. In hindsight, management, yes, some of the costs maybe have been not spent next time or that. But I guess overall, I feel we did a good job. The cost of doing nothing, we would never know. But I feel we protected the community as best we could with a beast that was unknown.
Thanks. Heather.
Yes, when we got the call March 13, 2020, and we said they were told that this virus was coming to the valley and it had the potential to kill many, many people, we were at that time, we did the best with the information we had. We were close with the federal government, provincial government, emergency management, with AHS, with all the other municipalities. We were trying to make sense of what was going on, and in the end, we had to protect the most vulnerable, and that's what they kept reminding us, is that it was going to affect our seniors and those who are immune compromised. So I believe that, if we could have asked the mayor of 1918 how he handled the pandemic, I'm sure that any one of us would have contacted Mr. Fullerton and asked for guidance. But we had to go with the tools that we were given. If you look back on it, absolutely. It's like anything in life. If you had hindsight, you would always look at things and say, well, we could have done this different, we could have done that different. And we as council all look back and say, at that moment, decisions were made based on the knowledge we had. So therefore, I feel that at the end of the day, we took the people were our focus. It was the people we were looking at. And yes, again, I would say if we had hindsight, lots of things would be different. But the province has evaluated, and we were in comparison to many communities, and we spent what many communities similar to our size did. So I'm proud of what we've done, and yes, thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Don't see any wild cards on that one. So our next question is directed to Crystal, Pat, Kurt, and Mark. A few years ago, there was talk of a youth center in town, and a gala was held to raise funds for it. Are you in favor of bringing a youth center back to the table, and what is your overall vision for the youth of Drumheller?
That's a great question. I know as a business owner, we definitely supported that gala, and I would definitely be supporting any future youth initiatives, especially because my children are coming up to that teenage years. I want my children to feel safe here. I want them to be part of something. I want them to be inclusive of others, and I think a youth center is a great place to start that. Thank you.
Patrick.
In talking about youth center and the concerns of youth, it's something that's very close to and dear to me, as I have a family. With the youth center, I would like it to be directed by youth for youth. We know that engagement is something that is always difficult with teenagers. It's our responsibility, not just as families, but as a community, to build resilient families, build resilient teens. And if there are things that they can do that can give them the skills that they will succeed as they go on in life, then yes. And if a youth center can fulfill those needs, if it's directed by them, yeah, I'm for that.
Thanks. Kurt.
We had a teen center late 90s or late 80s, early 90s, which my brother was a big part of. I believe that it's a very needed and very wanted system for our young youth, especially our at risk.
Thank you. Mark?
With the youth center, yes, I'd be in support as long as we can get a group of people to oversee it and look at it with the input of the kids. You know, it takes a community to raise a child with everybody influencing them. But I also think we need to build programs in the valley here for the kids, be it sports, be it other initiatives that we can do. We've got the BCF here, you know, run basketball, volleyball, soccer programs for the kids, help the community groups grow their programs to get better, to encourage kids to get out, be more social. It seems to help them grow and mature. Thank you.
Grant on a wild card, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that. It's important for the kids to have things to do, and we've talked about earlier. It was mentioned about drugs and whatnot. So it's definitely important to have those programs in place. Not everybody can afford to put their child in hockey, and it costs a lot of money to go swimming, and you know, not everybody has the ability to pay for some of that stuff. So to be able to make things more affordable for everybody, Mark talked about the BCF. You could have. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, Ralph on a wild card.
I believe it is very important to support a youth program in town, and also like the Valley Youth Center that we have already that is run by the church, to support the groups that are already trying to do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Jade.
So I'll just add and reiterate pretty much what everybody said. I think it's a great idea, and definitely there's a lot of kids out there that aren't really into sports and aren't really into church. So trying to find that middle ground, I think, is a good idea.
Great, thank you. Our next question is directed to Stephanie, Anthony, Jade, and Heather. 3 years ago, Town Council issued a survey about implementing a curbside recycling program. Public response was in support of the idea, even with a user fee, yet Council did not implement the program. What are your thoughts on a curbside recycling program? Starting with Stephanie.
I think this program would be wonderful for our community, and it would encourage more people to recycle. I know we break down our cardboard and take it over across from 7-Eleven all the time and put it in there, but it sure would be handy to have curbside pickup. Thank you.
Anthony.
Personally, I can't believe you don't recycle here. You know, we've had recycling. Actually, I've done recycling at least 30 years, and in Calgary they have a pretty good recycling program. But yeah, recycling is needed, and it's not only needed at our homes, but it's also needed even on your downtown. There needs to be an option to drop things into a recyclable container there too.
Thank you. Jade.
I am totally all for the door-to-door recycling. I know myself and a lot of the people that I know don't really like having to pack everything up and take it to the depot. And not even that, like, you can only recycle so much there, and I feel like there's other things like organics and things that maybe we could look at as well. Like, there's a lot of garbage that goes in that landfill that takes 40 plus years to decompose. So
Thank you. Heather.
Thank you. When we did that, we got the public response that we're in support of it. However, it was come down to the cost of it, and when we discussed that, it was a difficult thing. We also surveyed other communities who were having difficulty with people throwing everything into one bucket and then the cost of sorting. So I think if it was ever looked at again, we just have to figure out the way we can do it, that we're not upping too much in the taxes, but also making sure that we don't have the end cost. I'm all a favor of sorting and recycling. We do it all the time, and so yes, it's really, really important. I'm obviously about the environment. I believe that we got to keep litter and everything else out of control, and that's part of recycling if you can do that. But it all has to come down to being able to do it well and do it cost effective.
Tony with a wild card, 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, we did take a hard look at that as well as organics as well. And there are costs associated with it. Curbside recycling is a nice to have. There has a cost of labor and sorting and a place as well, so that was really the barrier. We do have recycling in town right now, and it is self-sorted by you dropping it into the appropriate bin. But yeah, I'd be willing to look at it going forward as well.
Pat on a wild card.
Thank you. I served on Drumheller and District Solid Waste as a councillor, and yeah, we wholeheartedly believe in recycling. But it is a changing and volatile market. What is sort of coming down the pipes at this time is extended producers' responsibility, which is where packaging is. They're looking at legislating packaging going from cradle to grave of a product. So if something's wrapped in plastic, that company is responsible for it. Still don't know how it's going to roll out, but it is been in work for legislation for some time. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, our next question is directed at Grant, Ralph, Tom, and Ed. What are your thoughts on the COVID-19 restriction exemption program being implemented at the arena, pool, and Badlands community facility? Some communities have opted out. Is the restriction exemption program something you support or oppose for town-owned recreation facilities? Starting with Grant.
Yes, I would support that. The uptake of the vaccine, you need to get maybe upwards of 80%, 90% to get herd immunity, taking into account the people that have had COVID. You can count that potentially towards herd immunity, and then maybe we can beat this thing. So in the meantime, I don't support mandatory vaccines, so I do support the exemption where you show proof of vaccination, and then you can enter those establishments in a roundabout way. You're gonna get an uptick in your total vaccination by restricting people what they're doing. So I agree with that. Thank you.
Thanks. Ralph.
I do support the programs 100%. We do have an area here, one of the areas with lowest amount of vaccines compared to other areas in Canada. And I believe it's very prudent to have people with their vaccinations or proof of not having COVID going into these areas to protect the public.
Tom.
Yes, I support anything that basically will get more people vaccinated. And I mean, I tell people, I've been kind of fortunate. I mean, I'm old enough to remember we got vaccinations for everything when I was younger. We got polio and diphtheria and all sorts of whooping cough and all sorts. And we've seen, my generation has seen vaccines actually work and be very, very effective. So I think we need to do everything we possibly can to get more and more people vaccinated, and this is one step.
And Ed.
Yes, it is a must program to have. Of course, some people think they don't need to have the vaccine, but unfortunately, those people are going to have to potentially stay home. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next question, moving on, is directed to Lisa, Tony, Crystal, and Heather. How will you gain the public's trust in the town moving forward with flood mitigation? Starting with Lisa.
Wow, that's a doozy. I think the biggest thing that, besides the director that we messed up on as a council, was the direction of communication. I think open, honest, direct communication is always to one's benefit, and I think we missed the boat on that right off the bat in regards to this flood mitigation program. We have instilled better mechanisms to hopefully address people's concerns and get back to people within 24 hours. Will that instill trust in the population? I'm not sure. I feel honestly that the general public has a huge mistrust of all levels of government, and I don't think that even if you were to be as open and transparent as you possibly could, I feel that there's still a good portion of the population that would still not believe anything that came out of a politician's mouth. And but in this case, I'm hoping that the measures that we have started to implement to move forward will start to make a difference. And my door's always open, so if anybody has any questions at all in regards to it, they're always welcome to come talk to me, and I've always been frank, and I won't change.
Thanks. Tony.
A few stumbles at the start for sure. That's why we're calling it a restart to the program. There's been new directors, there's been better communications through a outside third-party communications firm. As evidenced lately with the open houses, information on the website, better communications going forward is a commitment, something that didn't really have at the start. So yes, I think it's a step forward, and it'll be constant throughout the program.
Crystal.
So honestly, well, one, I'll be directly affected by the flood mitigation as my home currently is located in Midland along the river. But I really don't know enough about the program, and I have been learning, and I've been watching past council meetings, and I've been looking through the land use bylaw, and I'm trying to navigate it. And I believe that to gain trust, the communication needs to be better, and it has been better, and need to be honest about it. And I'm being honest right now, I don't have the answers, and I have lots of questions, but I'm willing to work hard to find those answers and to be transparent about what is happening with the flood mitigation. Thank you.
Heather.
Thank you. This program's definitely been complex, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if a person, again, could turn back the hands of time, we would have forced the issue of going community by community instead of trying to make it so valley overall. And I think that's number one where a bit of things went wrong. Communications, definitely. We had to raise the bar. We've done that. We've, in some cases, we're trying to be almost getting everything we possibly can out as quickly as we can and make sure it's right. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that that information that's going out is correct, so that there's not this after the fact and people don't trust. Having the community meeting, I think that is huge for the step forward to allow people from all different walks of life to be part of that group. They can hear what's going on. They can ask the questions. They can be involved, right down from people who are interested in the finance part of it, or those who are interested in the environment part of it. I'm super excited about the community meeting, a community committee that's going to be involved in that. And finally, people asked for change. They wanted change, and we listened. We took all the information that we were gathering, and we listened to what you had to say. And I'm really looking forward to the future of this. This is a huge program, and it's for the full committee. So all the best. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Ralph is going to use his last wild card on that one.
I believe we need to continue to have community engagement and meetings with the flood program. The first meeting for the residents that were affected living in stress over this took 2.5 years before we had it. That was crazy. So we should continue to keep the public and the residents engaged with what's going on at the flood program.
Thanks. Nobody else on a wild card? Okay. Our next question is directed to Pat, Kurt, Stephanie, and Ed. And the question is, Airbnbs have become very popular, and there's a huge risk regarding the long-term impact on the local rental market, available affordable housing, and community safety. What's your plan to manage and oversee the development of Airbnbs or other short-term rentals? Starting with Patrick.
I'm not sure if I would agree with the question that there are these incredible risks with these, especially with public health, safety. There's Airbnbs and VRBOs and rental properties on my street So far, no problems with them. I think it's an interesting way that people can enjoy our community. As problems may come up, one thing I do foresee, I guess, with our street is parking, such things like that. And I guess the other concern, I think we have a fairly good inventory of rental in this community right now. But maybe a longer term concern with that could be making sure that we do keep that inventory. And I thank you.
Thanks. Kurt.
Not overly familiar with all the Airbnb stuff. I know that if they are offering Airbnb, they should have enough parking on their site, not taking up the street for other residents, as well as we do need more low-income housing in our valley.
Thanks. Stephanie.
I'm totally in support of Airbnbs, having used them myself in other areas such as Canmore. They can be more affordable for people to visit places. As for the housing situation and the rental, there has to be some sort of happy medium to keep rentals available. Being a renter myself, it is important that people have affordable rent. Thank you.
Ed.
Yes, be honest with you, I'm not that experienced with that particular issue, and to make it short and sweet, I 100% agree with Patrick.
And Crystal's going to use a wild card. 30 seconds.
I have operated a successful Airbnb in this community. I'm not currently, and we never did have a problem, but I do agree that we need to have some type of regulation to make Airbnbs safe. So whether it's an inspector that comes in and makes sure that home is safe for guests, as well as it can't be taxing on the neighbors or our whole community, including, our health system or with street parking, all those things. I think there could be a good balance for our community with Airbnbs.
Thanks. Don't see any other ones. You guys are doing really great on questions, so that's really good. The downside is we're going to be a little ahead of time, so instead of letting you out early, we're going to come up with a few more questions. So I think we already have 3, and I've got 3 on my list, so we would have been done in about 15 minutes, but I don't know. We'll see about that one. So the next question is directed at Anthony, Jade, Grant, and Mark. As council, you will be required to make decisions on complex topics with lots of info and viewpoints. Someone will always be disappointed. What are the key factors you will consider when making decisions that will guide the town's future? Starting with Anthony.
Well, there's a good question, hey? Basically, you're going to look at your community standards and your morals and your your structure, your community strength to make your decisions. And economic, of course, be working in there, but first you got to look at your people factor and then move forward from there.
Jade.
It's really tough that you can't just please everyone, because I wish that sometimes that we could, but that's not the way life works. So I definitely think looking at how it affects the community as a whole is one of the main contributing factors. And, there is going to be more on one side than the other. So that's also one thing I would look at. So thank you.
Grant.
Obviously you're working together as a team. So there'd be lots of collaboration in those discussions and work through all of the issues. You get the consensus of everybody, you work out the pros and the cons, you have your disagreements, and at the end of the day, the majority wins, and you leave that room supporting that decision and promoting that going forward as a group.
And Mark.
Sitting as a council, we have to look at items such as the cost. What are the tangible costs now and tangible costs later that's going to affect our decision? We have to look at the intangibles, such as how is that going to affect the town as a whole? Is the community going to be upset with us? Is there certain people that we're going to affect that may later turn into issues? Is there a way around it? And future plans, what are our plans now and what are our plans in the future, and how does that play into all our decisions? And then as a group, we have to come and look at the pros and cons, like Grant said, and make a decision and stand behind our decision as a group and move forward.
Thanks. Tom, you're going to use your last wild card?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I mean, in a democracy, ideally everybody gets to make a decision on everything. It doesn't work that way because you got thousands of decisions to make and millions of people. So people are elected to make decisions for the residents. On council, you always have to make decisions based on the best possible information, and that is absolutely the key. You have to search out that information. You have to make sure administration gets all the information that you can possibly do before you make any kind of a decision, and then the decision very often is very obvious.
Thanks. All right, our next question is directed to Ralph, Tom, and Lisa. What do you see as the role of tourism in the future success of Drumheller, and why? Starting with Ralph.
I believe the role of tourism is huge in the community, has been for decades, and will continue to be. But we need to also look at the other 9 months of the year. Also, new tourist business like Barney's out there, we need to promote new tourist business to keep the tourism active and fresh. And I believe we should support tourism 100%, but respect the value and quality of life of the residents in the community at the same time.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, tourism is obviously very important to the valley. I mean, Drumheller is the third most popular tourist destination in Alberta. We get hundreds of thousands of tourists here every year. And where it can be very, very important, we've talked about downtown revitalization, and most small town downtowns don't do very well all of the time. They don't have enough business. So what we need to get out of tourism, for example, in the downtown area, we need to get enough tourists downtown during the summer months to bolster the companies that work down there so that they can survive for the rest of the year. So that's an example of how tourism is very, very important to the community.
Thanks. Lisa.
So the role of tourism in the future, well, it's pivotal. It's one of the most important industries we have in this community. It employs our youth, as well as our middle-aged people, anybody really. Gives everybody a mechanism to support themselves. However, there are some issues that come with any type of expansion of any kind, such as parking and the cost to the residents. So all that needs to be looked at in the near future, I think, just to adjust, because I feel that Drumheller's on at a point where we're going to become pretty substantial big players in the game of tourism in all of North America. So that being said, I think we also need to look at our shoulder seasons as to what we can do to help support our local businesses when we don't have the summer upon us. And as a council, I think that initiatives to move that forward should be at our forefront. Thanks.
Thanks. Crystal, you're first with the wild card.
We need to extend our tourism season just past the 5 months of the year, and I think we can achieve that by having winter, fall-based activities in this valley. What that looks like yet, I'm not sure, but I know that our valley is really about tourism, and we are becoming a major destination. Besides heading west, people are coming east now, and it's really, really exciting.
Thanks. Pat, you were next with the wild card.
Pardon me. When we discuss tourism, I'd really like to see us move away from the duality of local versus tourism. I think a lot of them have the same needs. You know, what do I like as a resident? Safe communities, ease of access to goods and services, community pride. Those are the same things that I look at when I go to other places. I appreciate the work that Travel Drumheller has done, and in the last time it has really created a fostering atmosphere, which I believe will lead to big things, and we will see some expansion.
Thanks. Ed, on your wild card.
Yeah, well, tourism is a very important issue, but at the same time, we need to spend more thought on what the town can do for the citizens for the other 8 months of the year, and lots of other tourism communities are like that. It's you know, part of the year is tourism, but you still need to have proper functionality and concern for the citizens' well-being during the non-tourism. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, Anthony on the wild card.
I think the tourism, the winter tourism that you're looking at attracting here, and that you should also, you know, your youth, give your kids something to do in the winter time as well as the summertime, because that's when they can really fall into things. So I think whatever you go after and attract for the tourists should be including things for your own people to do, the kids.
Thank you. Our next question is directed to Tony, Crystal, and Patrick. Our Chamber Network's research shows that members of the public have high levels of confidence in the business community to help move our province forward. What is your plan to engage business leaders in growing prosperity in our community? And we'll start with Tony.
Okay, that's with respect to business leaders within the community or
Correct.
business itself?
Business leaders in the community.
Economic development and business growth was a prime driver of our last term here. One of the big factors that did come out of that was the creation of an economic development team, which was made up by private business leaders, and we tapped into innovative ideas that they provided in order to move the whole business world forward. I think that was key in developing where you would take business going forward, and it was the business ideas that were contributed that moved us forward on that aspect.
Thanks. Crystal.
So, having been a business owner here for 17 years, in the beginning it definitely was a struggle. But then opening a new business in 2019 was really easy. The town support, council, economic development, the chamber, it was really, really, really beneficial to have those behind you to support you. And then 6 months later, we have a pandemic. And as a new business, you're like, oh no, now what? And again, having the town and the chamber supporting us through that pandemic definitely was beneficial. To increase more businesses, I think since opening Valley Brewing, we've encouraged other people to really think about maybe starting their own businesses. And I think it's just this attitude of, hey, you can make it work. You got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort, and you got to think about not just the tourists, but your locals for the rest of the year. And we are so thankful as business owners to have a business here. I really can't think of any other place to be doing it right now. Thank you.
Thanks. Patrick.
I think fundamentally it's creating a vision that people can get behind. When we talk about economic development, again, I'm going to reiterate that it's a holistic approach. It's not as simple as cold calling businesses and saying, hey, come. It's about working those fundamentals of community development, of infrastructure, of being safe and caring. And I agree with Crystal that it has been really exciting in the last while, especially seeing young entrepreneurs coming into the Valley and having a community that can foster them with that same feeling of knowing that this is a community where these stumbling blocks are out of the way. I think that can go a long way to building business and community.
Thanks, Pat. All right, well, those were our prepared questions. So like I said, you guys were efficient enough, so we got 3 more. So here we go. So this next question is directed to Kurt, Stephanie, Anthony, and Lisa. Do you have any plans for seniors? And thank you from the Sunshine Lodge. Starting with Kurt.
We do need more senior housing, as well as the, like I said, the lower income housing. Me being on a disability pension already, at middle-aged 50, there's not a lot of help for the 50 to 65-year-old low income. So yes, we do need more senior housing and more senior help.
Thanks. Okay. Stephanie.
As Tom Zariski was saying, it sounded like maybe there's something in the works for building more senior homes and stuff. I'm in total support on that and want to continue forward working with that. It's very important. Thank you.
Anthony.
I think there's some seniors that are forgotten as well over here. There are some people that may need help that are not used to reaching out. So that might be something to add in there, is to seek out and enable them and help to support them in whatever their needs are. Because it seems like I've talked to several, and it seems like sometimes they're getting by on a lot less than most people are, and if some help for them, identifying them and carrying forward would be good.
Lisa.
Well, it's a very good question, and yes, as Tom had pointed out earlier, an SL4 is on the table, so that's very exciting news for this community. There was a study that was done that also did show that Drumheller in and of itself has fantastic amenities for a retirement population, considering access to health care, our Valley Bus for transportation, and for housing. But all that being said, there's always work that can be done, being mindful of what a municipality can do compared to what a province or the federal government is responsible for. So I personally don't have a lot to offer in regards to what I would do, but I would invite anybody who has ideas or suggestions that we could do at the municipal level to come talk to me, and we'll see what we can get done.
Thanks. Jade with the wild card.
Something I had said during my initial thing was that the connection and support programs, seniors do kind of get left behind, and there's a lot of lone families that actually don't have, moms, dads, that sort of thing. So if we could do some connecting that way, I think that that's a very positive mentorship and volunteer, which is, we need more of that connection. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next question is directed to Jade, Grant, Ralph, Mark, and Heather. What is your vision for the Rotary Spray Park and surrounding area, including the Aquaplex? Starting with Jade.
I have to go first again. I think it's great. When I heard that the fountain was getting redone, I honestly thought that there was going to be a new fountain, so I was a little kind of disappointed when there wasn't. But I think the spray park itself is great. The renovations on the pool look great. It'd be really nice for COVID to go away so we could get back out there. So, thank you.
Thanks. Grant.
Yeah, people love water, so the Aquaplex and that fountain are definitely key to the community. The Aquaplex, I hear lots of people having issues with access times, lane swimming versus public swimming. So if we could figure out a way of making sure that there's more times and everybody can access that and it's affordable. Around the spray park, I think it's been fantastic and it's well used. So the part of being well used is it has to be well maintained. Some of the decks are slippery. There's trees dying there. They need to be replaced. So to keep that well maintained, it's almost like someone needs to be there on a regular basis every day, cleaning up garbage, keeping it maintained. There's so many people using it. You need that maintenance there. And it's fantastic. I go by there on a regular basis and the place is just packed. So it's definitely key for turning people downtown and turning off the main drag and getting them at that fountain, get them at the Aquaplex, and then they can make their way uptown to the businesses. So it's definitely key to our community to keep that maintained and running. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Ralph.
I totally agree. It's a very important area of the town. Not only for the tourists, but the locals, kids use it a lot too, and the local people. And I agree too that to keep on top of the maintenance and keep it clean and presentable to the tourists and make sure it's safe at all times, but it's definitely one of the busiest areas in town and it needs to be supported.
Thanks. Mark?
My vision for the Rotary Park, the splash park and the fountain there, the maintenance has got to be done down there, upgraded. I understand there's steel pipes underground that need a cathodic protection. I understand the plastic pipes there will corrode over time. Monies need to be put aside for that, knowing that in the future that work's got to be done. The aquaplex, same thing. I enjoy it. I used to go there all the time with my daughter. I swim lengths every once in a while. The hours are atrocious. Hopefully we can get that fixed. 45 minutes to go swim lengths for an adult. It's not enough time. Same with the kids, 2 hours. I think we can extend that out somehow, make a better schedule. And working with the employees there to understand the maintenance schedule and what requirements they need to make that place successful. Thank you.
And Heather?
Yeah, I agree. We need to upgrade that area a little more. We've spent time trying to get the fountain and all that up and running effectively, the pool and the outdoor pool. I'm all about aesthetics, so I would really like to see the outside of that outdoor pool cleaned up, that area tidied up. Having somebody continually maintain that area, because it is probably one of the busiest areas in town in the summer, and we just need to make sure it's always safe. I always have had a problem with the grass and how it gets trampled in that, so I would love to see a solution with that. Overall, it is one of the most inviting areas in the community. It's just amazing to watch that when you're watching all those kids in and out of the spray park and out of the fountain, and I think we just need to keep enhancing that experience. Of course, I'd like to see the lights back, and I know they're trying to work on that. And overall, it's just that place where we need to have more shelter so that when it is, plus 30 and et cetera, that people can actually still stay there and enjoy the space, and we keep everybody safe. So I love the fountain, I love the Rotary Park, I love the work that the whole community has done, and thank you to the Rotarians for everything you have done to help make that place the way it is. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, our next question goes to Crystal, Pat, Tony, Tom, and Ed. If elected, what are your top 3 priorities in your first few months on council? And we'll start with Crystal.
My top priority would be, I believe that the policing committee is changing to a different advisory committee, and I would really, really like to be part of that committee. When we create safe communities, we create an environment where people care about their community, and encouraging better mental health in our community, as well as understanding more about the opiate crisis, ensuring that we have good communication with our police force here, as well as bylaw. So that would be definitely my first thing I'd want to tackle, would be that, as well as really getting to understand the flood mitigation. It's something that is going to take up a lot of my time, and I'm fully aware of that, and I'm willing to put in the time for that. Thank you.
Thanks. Pat?
First and foremost is to continue building opportunity, to continue on that path towards prosperity, to finding ways for people to become involved in their community. The second one would be working on lines of communication, reestablishing them, and rebuilding that trust. And the third thing would be continue to work on community pride. Let's get people involved. Let's see what they want in the community and go forward from there.
Tony?
My 3 top priorities would align with my platform as well. I think we need to continue to look at further business development. Our economic development manager has done phenomenal things. We need to ensure that that pipeline remains full and that there is activity and development going forward. It was great to hear the earlier comments on the ease of opening business. There's been a lot of streamlining there, and we just need to ensure that continues. Next would be tourism, is to build out a plan for those shoulder seasons, and that one that can be implemented right away, and then just continue beautification of the valley.
Thanks. Tom?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. I guess my first comment has to do with what's been going on in this community. that it is very unfortunate that we have people in the community that are looking at misinformation and believing it. And to me, that basically speaks to their lack of trust in council, their lack of trust in administration of the town. So that to me is got to be a huge priority going forward, is to get people back to believing that your council and mayor and administration are working for the betterment of the community. Second thing I'm looking at, and again near and dear to my heart, of course, is seniors housing. I am of the baby boomer generation, and we are getting older and older and older, and there are quite a few of us. And so we are going to need all sorts of supported living housing for people who have got lots of money, and we need lots of housing for people who don't have any money. I guess the last thing that I would suggest is economic development, certainly, to spread the taxation base. I mean, I hear all the time taxes are too high, and rather than cutting services, if we spread that taxation base, then it'll work.
Thanks. Ed?
Well, the first thing I would like to do would be get accountability in place for the town management. And of course, transparency would follow, which is important. And most importantly is the communication with the citizens to be able to answer their questions so they're more educated on what's going on. The next thing would be to de-escalate the berm to a more reasonable and viable project. We need the berm for sure, but we don't need a Las Vegas style berm. And lastly, I mean, there's many different things that are important, but I believe infrastructure services, for example, roads and sidewalks, and most importantly, back alley maintenance. That seems to be a big thing that is forgotten in the town through all the communities from Drumheller right to East Cooley. Thank you.
And Grant, I think you were using your wild card first. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah, I hate to be the Debbie Downer in the room, but one of the priorities I would have is the budget that would probably be prepared for the 2022. The inflation is upon us. You just have to go to the grocery store and the gas station, you know that. So a budget would be important. The flood mitigation for sure is important to get that back restarted, get everybody's buy-in, and move that forward with everybody's support, because we definitely need a berm to protect houses and infrastructure. And then lastly, we've talked lots about business development and revitalization, so that's definitely key. Thank you.
Heather, on your 30 seconds.
I just want to comment on the size of the berm. When we looked at getting this berm, it was 1640 CMS. And at that time, we were basing things on that. And I was sitting in meetings where all of a sudden the province said they wanted 2260 natural flow. This, and I'll give credit where credit's deserved to the last project manager, the interim, and our CAO, that we all pushed back and said 2260 is unacceptable. They agreed to 1850. That is a province decision. That is not a municipality decision. The funds that we have are based on 1850. It's not up to us to change that height.
And I think, Anthony, you were using a wild card? Yep.
I think, you know, all the obvious things are important, but I also think that, like we were talking earlier, your winter sports for the kids, I think you got to look at the highway is dangerous. We're inviting all these people to come visit, and we got tankers on the road, and there's gravel trucks and everything, and there's nowhere for them to be. So either widen the road or build a proper bicycle path or a proper trail for people to be out.
Thanks. All right. Well, I could do questions all night, but we've been here for a while, so I think we'll move on to the closing comments. We do have to be packed up and out of the room before 9 o'clock. So that concludes our question period. As we said before, all the questions that we've received will be circulated to all of the candidates if you want to get any type of response, you can forward those onto the chamber, and we will make sure they're posted on the website. There's definitely going to be lots of questions that we've received, both in advance and probably throughout the evening. So you're going to get a fairly large email with respect to that. So I'm now going to ask each candidate to approach the microphone up here and summarize his or her political platform. Each candidate will have 1 minute. The order of speaking will be the same as the start of the evening. So we start with the mayoral candidates first. So we are going to start with Ed. Come on up for your 1 minute wrap up.
Hi, I'd like to thank all of the citizens that are still watching and listening to what we have to say. I've lived in Drumheller for the past 15 years. I'm a little rough around the edges, but experience will change that. I am a sincere, honest Joe who understands what the citizens have been experiencing by dealing with the corruption and nepotism of the town of Drumheller. I have a devoted goal to make proper changes in the way that the town deals with issues and its citizens. This is not a popularity contest. All the citizens must come out and vote for the candidate that you feel will get the best results for doing what you think is the right thing. Please, on or before October 18th, vote wisely. Thank you for allowing me to speak to all of you.
Thanks, Ed. I'm going to call Heather forward next.
Thank you, Jeff. In closing, I have thoroughly enjoyed being your mayor for the past 4 years. And if elected, I will continue to work hard for you, the residents, the businesses of this amazing valley. As described in my platform, there is still a lot of work to do, and it's going to take a strong council and a working hard group to make sure that together they get this done. I want to send a sincere thank you to my present council. They have been incredible to work with, our CAO, the administration, and the entire team at Town of Drumheller. They were there for us, and I just can't thank you enough for being there. I've enjoyed the past working with businesses, all the residents over the past 4 years, and thank you for your support. I want to continue to be your mayor. I love this job. I have the best job in the valley, and I just want to say, I believe giving back in any form will change your life, and this job has changed my life. I love this role. Thank you for having me. For more information, check out heatherformayor.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Next, I'm calling on Mark Chung, please.
So first of all, I want to thank all the candidates for running. Gives Drumheller a great choice to choose from. There's lots of competent people here that'll definitely do a great job. I want to encourage all the voters out there to get out and vote. There's lots to choose from here, so there's lots of opportunity to get your voice heard. And going forward, I think we all know where we're in trouble and where we have successes. And I think with this group here, I definitely think that we can definitely solve some of the problems and build upon all the successes we have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Next, I'm going to council candidates, so we will start with Tony. Please come forward.
Once again, thank you to the Chamber for organizing the forum here tonight. Thank you to the residents for giving me the opportunity to serve you for the past 4 years. I look forward to being part of the future council that will advance our town over the next term in the areas of economic development, tourism, and beautification. Remember to vote on October 18 for a team that can get the job done. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Tony. Ralph, if you want to come forward.
I would like to thank everyone here for running for office and caring for the community. And thank you, Drumheller, for the opportunity myself of running for a position in council. I do promise to support 100% the elector's best interests in everything that I do if I get elected, on all projects, community engagement. And again, I am for the people and with the people. Please vote for Ralph Feenhouse and let me work with you and help you. Thank you.
Anthony, you are up next.
Yes, I just want to say thanks for putting this on and giving us all the opportunity to be all in the same place to address everybody's concerns and issues. I think what you have here is a pretty good group of people that you could probably put together a pretty good team to move forward with here. And I think, you know, it's take your pick time, and hopefully we can all deliver what we're talking about. But I do believe that there's a real good varied group here. Thank you.
Thanks. Pat, you get to come forward next. I really hope my wife's not watching because I don't clean like this at home.
I want to again thank the Chamber, the candidates, and the residents of Drumheller who have taken their time out of their evening to listen to the ideas and views shared today. When I look at this panel, I see a diverse group, each with different visions of what our community should look like. Each brings concerns, opinions, and focuses. I come today without agenda, only to offer my service to the community to the best of my ability. We all want to see the community succeed. To do this, we need strong leadership. I bring a solid understanding of government and the issues we face. I bring a thoughtful and thorough approach to decision making. I want to bring positivity to the conversation and a hopeful outlook. I'm committed to this community and committed to making the best decisions I can help us all move forward. Thank you.
And Stephanie, please.
Hi, Drumheller, and thanks for staying tuned in. Things that are important to me for Drumheller is the continuation of the revitalization and beautification of our town. This shows that we care and are invested in our community. I want to attract new business to the valley. At the same time, I want us to support our existing businesses that have been here and given back to our community. I'm also invested in bringing safety to our community. These things will make Drumheller a great place for the residents already here and for those looking to move here. I love Drumheller and look forward to being open and honest with a willingness to listen to our citizens' ideas and concerns. Thank you.
Lisa.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you to the Chamber and all the contestants, and I think this community is going to be in good hands. I actually debated with myself on finishing my speech in this last minute because it's probably what it would take for me to do so. However, I'm just going to go to my closing remarks and say there's always work by the municipality to be done. A councillor's role is not just to show up Monday, but every day, be it lobbying, reading reports, or taking calls. I want to be your voice at the table. We have worked on many initiatives these past 4 years. A good portion have been completed, but there are some very exciting things in the works and some to be started. I'm asking for your support at the polls, and I personally promise to continue to work hard to be your voice at the table. Thank you.
Jade.
All right, I want to take this minute to say thank you to the council, past and present, for all their hard work in making this beautiful valley what it is today. Thank you to my fellow candidates for stepping up to help create change, and of course all of you, the electors, for being an important voice in this democratic process. I encourage you to check out my Linktree online at Jade for Council. It's listed on the candidate list as well as on all my social media. Send me an email, give me a call, even text. I want to work for you. I look forward to the challenges ahead, and I'm excited to move forward as part of the Town of Drumheller team. One of the outgoing councillors has been quoted to have said, "Council work is not sexy work." And while I'm not sure that we need sexy, we sure do need planning, enthusiasm, creativity, and commitment. I am ready to help make Drumheller an even better community. Vote Jade, and you've got it made. Thank you.
Thanks. Kurt, you're up next.
Thank you, everyone in the Drumheller Valley. Like I said, I'm not a lot of political experience. I'm a man of few words, but I believe actions speak louder than words in the first place. I do want to be your voice, and I will fight for you on any concerns in this valley. Thank you. This is my home and always will be.
Crystal.
First of all, I want to thank all the candidates for caring about our community. What we do in the present helps create the future for our children. If we all care about our community, we can overcome any obstacle. So let's build this valley together. So on October 18th, your vote can make a difference. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram for updates. You can also contact me by phone, text, or email with any questions or concerns. And I really want to let people know I love this valley. I love the opportunities that are here. I love the landscape, but mostly the people. So Drumheller, the future really is crystal clear. Thank you.
Tom.
So the project that I'm most proud of working on council is, as we talked a little bit about, the supportive housing, supported level 3 or 4 facility. I've talked to 3 different governments, 4 different ministers to get that going, and it's just in the process of construction. Some of the future things I would like to see, drought mitigation. We've got flood mitigation going. Flood lasts for a week, drought could last for years. I want to see the downtown as an attraction. People come to the Drumheller Valley attractions. We need to make the downtown an attraction. I'd like to see a bicycle master plan for the valley. We've got lots more people bicycling, and I think there's a huge opportunity there. I'd like to see also a study how you could use effluent water to water our gardens and flowers. We also need more dog parks, pickleball courts, and baseball diamonds. And I'll give you this slogan: being on council is a risky business.
And Grant.
Yeah, thank you again for this opportunity tonight, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting, and thank you for all the questions that everybody dialed in. In summary, I have the time and the ability to commit to making Drumheller a better place to live, work, and raise a family. I have the experience needed to help guide our community over the next 4 years. And I will provide oversight to the flood mitigation project and look at all the options going forward. Quality of life is so very important when we have so much to offer people, but we also have to make sure that we maintain it and that we don't let people fall through the cracks. Everybody needs to be able to have a piece of that quality of life in Drumheller. Last but not least, spending your tax dollars wisely is a top priority for me. And finally, when you go into that voter's booth, you have 6 votes for council. I'm only asking for 1. Thank you.
Thanks. I've had the pleasure of moderating this forum numerous times over the years, probably way too many to even remember. And every time it amazes me at the quality of the candidates that come out. And so just thank you all very much for the time and effort that I know it takes to put a campaign, and regardless of the result, I know Drumheller is going to be in really good hands with the quality of people that we have here tonight. So thank you all. If there was a ton of people in the room, there'd be lots of clapping right now. I'm hoping everybody's clapping online. But again, thank all you candidates for coming out tonight. Please remember, Election Day is Monday, October 18th. Voting will take place here at the Badlands Community Facility from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Advanced polls will be held Sunday, October 10th from 1 to 5, Tuesday, October 12th from 3 till 8, Thursday, October 14th from 12 to 8, and Saturday, October 16th from 10 to 6, all also at the Badlands Community Facility. So there's lots of different options for people to get out and vote, so please do so. I want to thank John and Bill for coming out and helping us tonight with this broadcast. Thank you guys very much. Heather and Marley as well, thank you for everything and putting this together. Thanks again, all you candidates. I really appreciate your efforts. And I want to thank everyone online for joining us this evening. I wish it could have been in person, and next time it will be, hopefully. Thank you all to the candidates for attendance and participation, and thank you to everybody else, and good night from the Drumheller and District Chamber of Commerce. This concludes our evening. Thanks.